quick story while I'm eating my McDonald's. So this is what's frustrating about trying to go off the beaten path and start a business. Your wife just don't understand. Your family don't understand. Look. So my son is 14. My oldest son is 14. He don't live with me. He's from a previous relationship. I'm married now, been married for 11 years. But my son is 14. You do the math. But I got him every weekend. I've had him every weekend since he was 1 year old. So usually I let him chill, relax, because he does real good in school. But now that he's not the most physical kid, he's a smart kid, but he's not the most physical kid. So I usually got him he got a few chores around the house. But now that he's 14, it's like he's just entering 9th grade. I'm starting to see maybe I should have got started a little earlier with having him just do more physical work so he can, you know what it is. If you know, you know. So now I got him on the weekends when he comes over. We don't work Saturdays, so he gets to chill all Saturday, stay up late on Saturday night, do what he wants, play his game, play with his music, whatever. But Sunday, we've been doing some work, right? So I've been taking him with me, and we go out and bust some yards down or do a cleanup or whatever. But this is what's frustrating. He got his mom in his ear, and I know it's kiki funny stuff, but also they kind of serious. His mom be in his ear. He texting back and forth with his mom because make sure you get paid, whoop-de-whoop. And they they making light of it. They make it a joke, but they really serious. Make sure you get paid. How much do you think? He texting back. How much do you think I should get paid? Well, they negotiating his payment amongst each other. Not with dad, with mom, right? So then she screenshots me their conversation. He said, well, I know fast food, we live in California, fast food workers get paid $20 an hour. Maybe I should get paid 20. She's like, maybe you should. Or maybe 16, or maybe 15. He negotiating with her while he in my truck getting ready to bust down some work. So then he screenshots the conversation to me, So I don't mention it. I'm like, you scared that, closed mouths don't get fed. You negotiating with a person that don't got nothing to do with this. So towards the end of the day, he finally, or our break, we doing a cleanup. He finally think to ask me on our break. And he's one of them kids that like to beat around the bush instead of just ask for what you want. Which I'm trying to train him up to just like, you got to ask for what you want in this life. Can't beat around the bush. But he's like, maybe, because I didn't reply to the screenshot that he sent me of him and his mom negotiating his pay from me. So he hits me, he's like, maybe, and he likes to like start sentences. He likes to start a sentence in the middle of a thought, like no context or anything. So he's like, maybe 20 sounds good, or I forget the number he threw out there. And I said, good for what? He's like, for my payment today. I said, who said you was getting paid? He's like, well, my mom. I was like, your mom, this ain't her business. He said, well, and he gets quiet, but I want him to think it through and talk it through. So I'm like, I said, how much do you think you're worth? He said, I don't know, 20. I said, why do you think you're worth 20? And he said, well, that's minimum wage. I said, first off, minimum wage isn't 20. Minimum wage in California is like $17, and it just got raised to that. Or $16.50, I forget. And he said, well, that's minimum wage. I said, no, that's not minimum wage. I said, matter of fact, that's minimum wage for fast food restaurants that are franchised, like McDonald's, Taco Bell, Jack in the Box. They had raised the minimum wage in California for these major fast food restaurants. He said, oh, okay, well, I said, and do you know what the result of that was? I said, since they've raised minimum wage to $20 an hour in California, over 20,000 workers have lost their job in the last year. I said, and who do you think the workers that lost those jobs? I said it was the younger people, right? The high schoolers that used to have jobs at McDonald's. 20,000 of them done lost their job over the last year since the minimum wage was raised. And I said, and who do you think got those jobs? Older people that are a lot more experienced, and kiosks. They got kiosk machines that you order at now. You walk into McDonald's now and there's no young cashier that takes your order. There's 5 kiosks, right? So the robots done got their jobs, and the older folks that's doing what they do done got their jobs, right? So the kids done lost their summer jobs and their entry-level jobs, right? So $20 an hour really doesn't apply to you being 14 years old with no work experience. I said, and how do you know that you have the skills to even request or earn $20 an hour? I said, you still learning how to work. You've been working for all of 2 days, right? I said, you might want to learn how to pick up 2 sticks. He'll pick up 1 stick, look at it, throw it in the pile. We doing a cleanup. I said, you might want to learn how to use 2 hands before you request $20 an hour. I said, look, I just kept it real with him. I said, your mother works a government job, right? She works for the state. Government job, they fill in quota. There's literally no way she can get fired unless she come to work high off multiple type of drugs or something, do something crazy. She works a government job, right? Oh, fast forward, when he gets home, then my wife does the same thing. Did your dad pay you this time? Whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop. And then she comes to me, well, are you at least going to pay him this time? I said, hold on, let me go. I'm jumping too far here. So I'm talking to him. I say, your mother works a government job, right? She doesn't know what it means to build a business. She really doesn't even know what it means to enter into the workforce and learn a set of skills that will make you valuable in the job market, right? So that you can request this or that or that. She works a state job, right? She's a social worker. Then, so he's like, yeah, he doesn't get it, but he don't want to argue. I said, all right, well, what if I do pay you? I said, what if I do pay you? I said, who do I take that out of your expenses? Because you the only child that I have that goes to private school. The other 2 kids aren't in private school yet. I said, me and your mother split your private school costs. You get some financial aid, but the rest of it we split. I said, my half of the private school is $600 a month. I said, so we take that out of the cost for your tuition for your school? I said, all right, so if I'm paying you $20 an hour, that means you owe me $30 hours a month just to break even. So I was like, you work for me today? All right, I'll pay you $100. We work 5 hours. You still owe me $500. I'm being funny, but I'm being serious. Just so he knows, like, I said, when I was your age, I worked with my dad in multiple. Anytime my dad wanted to work and do something, I worked with him in multiple aspects, whether he was doing his own business thing, where we were doing car washes, whether we were running around passing out flyers, where we were looking for houses, doing demos, doing real estate. My dad did a million different things. Whether we were doing day labor and I'm putting roofs on the top of apartment buildings in the middle of the summer at 10 years old, doing child labor, not getting paid a penny. Never asked him until I got balls enough to start my own business at 10 years old and start my lawn care business, right? But it was working with him that gave me the balls to start my own business. So I was like, but my dad never got, he never paid me. He paid me later in life when I was like 20 years old working for him, but that was even a little inconsistent. But it was the skills acquired to know, okay, you can do anything. You can start any type of business. You don't have to work for someone. Or if you do work for someone, at least you know your value, you know your skills that you brought to the table. And sometimes it's just a good deed to, I was the only boy, to, you know, put in some work for the family, for the home front. Honor your mother and your father, and sometimes they need a little help. It was good for me to be able to help out. So this is your opportunity to help out and pitch in at 14 years old, working 1 day a week, you know, helping your dad out. And who knows, you may acquire some skills and learn some work ethic, right? So then later in life, you're not afraid of work. You're not afraid to get your hand dirty. Even though you're a smart kid and you want to be a surgeon and all this stuff, it's good to have some tough work under your belt, right? So as much as it's helping me, it's helping you. But we'll see. Maybe I can help you out with a couple bucks. But he don't want for nothing, right? He got everything he wants. He got a $1,000. He got a MacBook Pro. He got a $1,000 keyboard to make his little music on. He got money in his he got a credit card with money on it, a debit card that he can spend for snacks at school. He doesn't know the value of money because he never had to work for it. So for you to sit up here and request this amount, I just wanted him to think it through, like. And it's kind of frustrating because not only did his you know, baby mom, his mom, in his ear, and again, his mom, she works her job, she does what she does, great, but she don't know nothing about business, and she don't know nothing about I've talked to her a million times about starting a little business for herself on the side, but she don't get it. It just doesn't connect. Even with my wife, it just doesn't connect. Like, hey, yeah, you punch this clock, you make good money. She's a property manager, makes good money. But I'm like, start a business on the side, and so you can free yourself from having to go. Don't get it. It's hard for people who punch clocks to relieve in themselves enough to start a business. It's like some cognitive dissonance, and they don't even want to think about it. So then my wife, after the whole long day of working, he's like, okay, I'm grateful for the experience. At least that's what he's telling me, because he don't want to hear my mouth. We get home, and then my wife's first thing he gets in is, did your dad pay you? Are you gonna pay him? Whoop de whoop. At least pay him, because you didn't pay him last time. I said, what did I say? I said, yeah, I'm taking it out of his expenses for his tuition. So he only owes me, he made $100 today. Now he only owes me $500 for the month. That made her mad. She just stomped away. But they don't get it, man. I'm trying to teach my son something that my pops taught me, like the independence of owning your own business and the work ethic. Those are two things. Even if you don't own your own business, just having that to fall back on, like, hey, or maybe a side hustle. Like, maybe you just want a side hustle to supplement your income. You know, you might want that. Or maybe at some point in your life, you might want to step away from your job and do your own thing. Now you'll have the confidence to do so because you kind of got a glimpse at dad doing it. You helped him out, right? Or just to be able to say when you grow up, like, yeah, I helped my dad out, you know, a few summers or a few days a week. And, you know, you can gloat in that. Like, yeah, I helped Pops out. And, you know, hang that over your little sibling's head. Like, yeah, I helped put food on the table with dad. You know, because I certainly bring it up when I was 10 years old, helping my dad doing day labor and working like a grown man. You feel me? So I'm not afraid of work. And I don't want him to be afraid of work as well. But that's not enough. These kids got to get paid hourly. Can't just help out dear old dad, according to these women in my life.